All right. Evening, all. How we all doing? Yeah, a bit later than I planned this Friday night live stream, but just a bit of busy day. Been a busy day. News been breaking like hell. It's been a crazy old day. It's been a crazy old day. I had a feel. Someone messaged me on Twitter on Monday or Tuesday. I forget which day it was, and they said, "Wait for this Friday. Dave Allen is going to be announcing his comeback." And I was like, you know what? I don't discount that for a iota of a second that the guy would come back. But I guess hearing it now has kind of made it sink in. It's like, what the fuck? You start thinking, like, what the fuck is the guy doing back in boxing? In the nicest possible way, the guy is, that mental health can't be all there in terms of it's just, up there in the brain. So why he's thinking it's a good idea to go back and box and get punched in that head is beyond me. We will see. We'll see how the comeback goes. In terms of everything else, Dubois versus Dinu, I mean, jeez us, people. Jeez us Christ. For the interim WBA title, I know the route they're going. They're looking at getting Dubois a crack at Trevor Bryan. Easy kind of. You would imagine that it's reasonably straightforward, to make that fight because, if he's got an interim WBA title. But even still, like, I mean, Jesus Christ, the fact that it's for an interim title is beyond me. I mean, I read Bogdan Dinu's box rec there, and Jesus Christ, I swear he's not fought anybody with a pulse in the last 2 years. And it's not even that he's like, if he was in the top 15, I'd be like, well, that's the WBA for you. They shouldn't be ranking in the top 15, but I could probably just be like, you know what, it's WBA. Look, just leave him at it. But he's ranked top 3 to the fact that he's eligible to fight for an interim title. I mean, where's Dubois ranked? In fact, actually, while I'm here, WBA rankings. I just want to check the rankings out of heavyweight just to see, because there's it's a bit of a joke, these rankings of heavyweight. Just give me a second. I'll bring up the heavyweight rankings because I'm pretty sure this is a joke of a rank. Okay, so holy shit. Wait a minute. How the fuck did. Right. So wait, and I just read you out the rankings here for heavyweight, right? Number 1, you've Alexander Usyk. No issues there, right? Number 2 is Bogdan Dinu. I thought he was ranked number 3. He's actually gone up to number 2. He's not fought anybody. So how the hell he's gone up? Number 3, Deontay Wilder. Again, why is he ranked so highly? He's not fought anyone since he lost to Fury. And he's not fought a WBA sanctioned fight in years. So that's a bit of a head scratcher. Luis Ortiz, again, he's fought absolutely nobody to justify that. He's ahead of the former champion Andy Ruiz. I mean, look at that, right? You've got Deontay Wilder, who's not fought a WBA sanctioned fight in God knows how many years, ranked number 3. You've your former champion ranked at number 5. You've Adam Kalnacki ranked at number 6, coming off a loss. Charles Martin, who's been winning fights as of late, is number 7. So again, makes no sense. Chris Arreola is 8. Again, he's not won a fight in 2 years. What the hell is he doing in there at number 8 is beyond me. What? Like, I'm saying Dinu, who's fought nobody, is ranked number 2, but Arreola literally hasn't fought anybody in 2 years. His last fight was a loss. Why is he ranked at number 8? Ajay Kabayel at number 9. That's not horrible, European champion. So, I don't, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Daniel Dubois, number 10. So where do you justify the interim title if he's that low down? Then it kind of gets a little bit better. F.A. Ajagba, 11, probably a bit too high. He's ahead of Frank Sanchez. Again, Frank Sanchez probably fought better guys, to be fair. Otto Valin, number 13. Yeah, I'm all right with that. I know the guy, the Kazakhstan guy, I can't pronounce his name. Zahan Kozbiskis, probably saying it wrong, but Michael Coffey. Yeah, Michael Coffey's a decent contender. Jesus, people. And listen to this, right? You've got Anthony Joshua as the super champion. That's consensus the champion. You've got the regular, well, they just have him down here as world champion, Trevor Bryan. You've got Manuel Char as the champion in recess. And then you have Robert Helenius as the gold champion. Like, this is a joke. I didn't I knew the WBA was dodgy, but I didn't realize the rankings were this badly off. This is a complete joke of a ranking. Jesus. I can't really justify it. Like, that is just crazy. Those rankings are an absolute joke, by the way. Like, I knew they were bad, but I didn't think they were that bad. Holy shit! I did not think the rankings were that bad. I knew they wouldn't be great, but Jesus, people, that's a complete joke of a ranking. What's Jared Thompson say? One shot is the people's champion and a great ambassador for the sport. He has the skill sets to beat Tyson Fury. I'm quoting him directly when he says that. A man who was, I believe, kicked out of Tyson Fury's camp because he wasn't performing, because he couldn't really last. But he has the skill sets to beat Tyson Fury. Yeah. Well done with that. But to be fair, like, the fight I want to see, look, just for entertainment reasons, I'd like to see Lovejoy versus Allen. Just for the laugh. There's very little footage of Lovejoy. He looks pretty basic, looks pretty terrible, to be fair. But him against Allen would be a fun little fight. Do you know what would be a fun fight? Lovejoy against Morrison, Trey Lippy Morrison. Because he fought the weekend. And if any of you haven't seen that fight, it was pretty fun. It went 3 rounds. He fought a guy called Jason Bergman. Jason Bergman's a journeyman, but he was a journeyman with a bit of ambition. That was fun. That was a fun little fight. Morrison got dropped. It's more a balance shot in the first round, but he was getting hit with left hands, left, right, and center. It was actually a pretty entertaining little scrap while it was going. And I wouldn't mind seeing him against Lovejoy, even Allen against Morrison. They were trying to do Trey Lippy Morrison versus Dave Allen before on the undercard of Usyk Chisora. They were trying to do that. Then they got Christian Hammer, and then they got Lovejoy. But I wouldn't have minded seeing that fight against Trey Lippy Morrison. Trey Lippy Morrison's very limited. You know, he wears the same kind of shorts that his dad did. He's got all knockouts, but he's been fighting very, very, very low level opposition. Slightly better than Lovejoy, but slightly better is, you know, it's still the level of him is just terrible. But yeah, Morrison versus Allen be a decent fight, but yeah, big up to Ra. Yes, you got to get that in there, G-Man's Rocks, of course. Dubois and Dinu, 2 bums like HA, the real champion. Oh yeah, man. You can't look. Char versus Lovejoy. That's the real world champion. You can't. That fight is going to be a classic. Never mind AJ Fury. Char versus Lovejoy. I'm serious though. I can't see that fight happening. Given Lovejoy's track record, I can't see that fight happening at all. Looks to me as though that fight is going to fall flat on its face. You know, we've heard Lovejoy. He's declared bankrupt. He's been through the mill as Christopher Lovejoy. So God only knows what's going to happen there. But personally, I can't see that fight taking place. They have it penciled in, but if Lovejoy, I don't think he's with Don King anymore, but God only knows. None of us knew he was with Don King going into the Dave Allen fight. Well, the fight that was meant to happen until like the 12th hour. It was crazy. I mean, like, all of a sudden you had this guy no one heard of, and then it emerges he signed with Don King. It was just like, what the hell happened there? It escalated quickly, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's the fight I want to see. Big up to Nuri. I hope I'm saying that right. Neural, I hope I'm saying your name right, mate. Big up G-Man. Bit too early for Dubois to return to the ring. I wonder if the eye has healed properly. Yeah, it's how long will it be? It'd be about 7 months, give or take. You'd be in around the 7-month mark. I could be a bit off with that, but it'd be in around the 7-month mark. That is a bit soon, given the extent of the injury. You know, Ebony Bridges got a bad eye injury, and it still looks a bit off. Like, the eye is kind of still red, but that was more swelling. This was nerve damage, and I believe nerves will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe nerves take a lot longer to heal than just the swelling. So it's like Lebedev. If anyone ever see Lebedev when he got that swelling against Guillermo Jones, he was back about a year later. But again, that was a horrible swelling, but it was only a swelling. As far as I knew, there was no nerve damage. I know there was cuts and all, but there was no real nerve damage. So Lebedev was all right, but that was, man, if you're talking about nerve damage, you might want to take a bit longer than 7 months. Big up to MVG, Michael Van Gerwen. How G, man? Hope you have a good weekend. Hope you have a good weekend. I hope I do too. Did I see the Teofimo Cambosa's press conference? Do you know, I haven't. I've seen like recommendations on YouTube and Twitter, but I haven't clicked on it yet because I've just been busy getting stuff set up here for going live, and you know, I was out earlier in the day, so I haven't had a chance to catch up on much. And I wanted to give a live to people were asking, so I said I'll do a live tonight for an hour or so. But yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I like that fight. I think it's an easy enough win for Teofimo Lopez. Kambosos Jr. is a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He is a good fighter. But I just think that Teofimo has so many tools to his arsenal. Kambosos is good. He's solid. But his best win, probably Lee Selby. He had a split decision against, was it Mickey Bay? So, I can't see him giving Teofimo Lopez too much trouble. But you never know. It could be a bit of a tough workout for Teofimo Lopez. Triller seem to be really keen on this. They seem to be keen on boxing and, getting these. And look, both guys are getting paid. And I'm talking about, like, not just Teofimo, George Kambosos Jr. They're both getting paid very, very well. And I'm happy about that. Like, I'm all for fighters getting paid. So if both these guys are getting well compensated and getting well paid, hey, I will have that. I'm happy for them. Let them get well paid. That's what I want to see. I like seeing fighters get paid. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Teofimo was getting in the 4 million range, and I think Kambosos is getting in the 1 to 2 million range, which is very good for him. I mean, I'm sure he's never made anything close to that. I would have imagined for the Lee Selby fight, he would have got a couple of $100,000. So, fair play. Big up to George Kambosos. I hope he gets well paid. Big up to Rich. I don't want to see Alan get hit. Neither do I. I remember watching his fight with Lucas Brown 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2019. And I watched that at my friend's house. And I remember looking at that fight. And even though the shots that Lucas Brown was landing, they weren't devastating shots by no stretch of the imagination. But you're looking at that and I'm just thinking, can he even afford to take them shots? And it's bad when the fighter's taking a few uppercuts here and there, and you're just thinking, he shouldn't be taking even those uppercuts. And I'm not talking about defensively. I'm talking about in just your health aspect. You're worried, like, is his health going to be okay? It really is bad that we're at that point with Dave Allen. And I don't want to see him come back personally. I don't have much time for the guy. He wouldn't be kind of someone I'd really want to associate with, because he plays that, like, victim mentality, and he's a bit, eager for the attention. There's a few people like that. There's a few fighters like that, like, who I really don't like, who are like that. But taking that out of the equation, I don't want to see him come back, because I don't want to see the guy end up with mush for brains, And it's not a good look on boxing when you have someone like that, when, they interview Dave Allen in say 10 years time and he's barely stringing a sentence. And you have all these people who look for boxing to be banned and be like, well, look at him. He can barely string a sentence. Boxing should be banned. I don't like that. I hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, One Shot is a great ambassador for the sport. Yeah, but Trevor Bryan ain't no pushover. Trevor Bryan's not horrible, but I would still definitely make Dubois a favorite, to be honest with you. I would make Daniel Dubois a favorite. Even if Dubois does fight Bryan, it won't be an easy night. No, I mean, definitely Trevor Bryan will give some resistance. He's not just going to fold over. But I haven't been that impressed with Trevor Bryan and what I've seen. He's not impressed me as much as, like, Dubois. I would pick him over Trevor Bryan personally. Gee, man, big up to Lee. Big up every time, man. I wouldn't bank on Dubois getting that Bryan. Don King still has a lot of sway with them, it seems. Don King and Frank Warren, they were business partners at one stage in the 90s. So I wonder if that relationship, I'd imagine it's not. I'd imagine that relationship is probably gonzo by this stage. But Don King, I mean, if you're a fighter, why would you sign with Don King? If someone put me in charge of a fighter and they turned around to me and they said, look, I've had 2 contract offers. One is from a small hall promoter who, for the first few fights, how I'm going to make money is by selling tickets. Yeah. Or the other was with Don King. Who should I go with? He's offering me a couple of $100,000 up front. Who should I go with? Go with the small hall promoter, because you'll get that couple of $100,000 up front, but you'll be paying every penny of that back and then some. I wouldn't go near Don King. Look at Vanis Martirosyan. He needed money. He signed with Don King. He got the Golovkin fight. He's not fought since. And he's, struggling. Last time I heard. So, Jesus. Yeah, Hellenius is a gatekeeper at this stage. Hellenius, I couldn't believe, like, I was shocked when he beat Adam Kalnacki. I really was. Put it in context, right? Hellenius got knocked out badly against Jared Washington. And Washington got absolutely steamrolled by Adam Kalnacki. I never really rated Kalnacki too highly. You'll know by the videos I've done on this channel that I was always a bit kind of hot and cold about Adam Kalnacki. I never really rated him as a heavyweight, to be honest, which I always thought he was a bit defensively, lackadaisical. There was never much there. So I never really rated Adam Kalnacki too highly. But even then, I still thought, Robert Helenius has seen better days 10 years ago. So I honestly thought he'd be able to, go in there and do a job on him. So I was really surprised when he lost to Adam Kalnacki. That really did shock me, or when Adam Kalnacki lost to Helenius. That really surprised me there. Really did. Oh, yeah. I'll read that now in a second. Why can't Alan just retire before he gets hurt? I think it's several reasons. I think that, like he said himself, it's not to do with money. I reckon it's largely down to ego. That's largely what I reckon it's down to. It's just probably that Alan is training these fighters. So he's training these young fighters who are up and coming. He's probably looking at that and thinking, I still, have something in me. I still have something to give. I reckon it's that. I reckon it's the fact that, when he was boxing, he had lots of attention. He was selling arenas and, he had a lot of limelight. So I reckon that plays a large part of it, like ego more so than anything else is playing more of a part of it as opposed to money. I'm sure he'll be happy to take whatever money he gets, but I reckon that's got a part to play. At the end of the day, right, let's go on BoxRec. Let's actually just go on to BoxRec. I just want to go and we'll just do this just for the sake of it, because Dave Allen, he's talking about winning the British title, okay? So let's just have a scroll onto BoxRec and let's look at the British heavyweights, in around domestic level. All right. So let's go. Dave Allen wants to hang it with these guys. So we'll pretty much ignore down the first six, because the first six are AJ Fury, Dylan White, Chisora, Joe Joyce, and Hughie Fury. Can't imagine any of them will be even, because a lot of them it might seem like a step down, except maybe Hughie Fury, but a lot of them it would seem like a step down. So let's look at the rest. Let's look at just the next 10 or so heavyweights, right? Dubois. Would anyone pick Dave Allen over Dubois? No, I wouldn't. Dave Price. He's already lost Dave Price. Gorman needs to lose some weight, does Nathan Gorman, because he's a useful fighter, but no. Wardley, no. Nick Webb, that would be an interesting little rematch, but for a British title, can't see it. Cash Ali, you could see that potentially. Yeah, could give Dave Allen a go there. Simon Vallily, definitely give him a go there, although he might go to Bridgerweight. David Adelaide, he's a good little up-and-comer. He looks good. At this level, I wouldn't imagine Dave Allen would have much success at British level, to be honest with you. I think there's a bit too deep talent there, in my opinion. I just think that, and he's been, and as Jared says there, he's been hurt. He's been hurt. He's been hurt by Usyk in sparring with headgear. So I don't think that's going to have. I don't think he's going to have much success. Lovejoy versus Tyen Boot for the Echo Falls Interim Heavyweight Championship. Man, you got to favor Tyen Boot in that one. Tyen Boot's been on that stuff for years and years and years. He knows that stuff inside and out. And I may very well have found a way to get a bottle of Echo Falls sent to Dublin. I'll do. If it's successful, you'll see me have a sip of it on a live stream. That's what I'll leave it at there. Because I'm not going to talk about it for too long, because I done that last time. But I'm just curious. People tell me it tastes like piss. I'm sure it does, but I'm just determined to try it. A bottle of Echo Falls. Because you can't get it here in Ireland. I've checked you literally cannot get it in here in Ireland. So if it's good enough for the UK, it's got to be good enough for here. So G-Man, Fury, Joshua, it looks like it, man. It's looking likely. I'm hoping it does happen, mate. That's basically it, mate. So essentially, a lot of, I don't know, most people probably in the chat would know this, but a lot of people when they're, especially people who are not really fully up to speed with boxing. I remember an amateur in the gym, my old amateur gym, was determined to go pro. And he was determined to go pro, and he was wondering how you get on the shows. And me and the guys were telling them, like, you at a low level, you have to pay to get onto them shows. You know what the money you're given to the promoter. Well, say the promoter gives you $2,000, you says $2,000. Say $1,000 goes to the promoter and $1,000 goes to your opponent. That's what Lovejoy's been doing. So he's literally been paying for his record. He's never probably been paid for any of his pro fights. So he's got the 19-0 padded record. I doubt the validity of a couple of them fights as well. I doubt the validity of a few of them fights. And I reckon that he's just looking at, these heavyweights with Matchroom, with Queensbury, and thinking, if I could make 30, 40K, because that's what kind of heavyweight purses normally tend to be, even at low level. At kind of that level where you're fighting prospects and stuff. If I can make that, that will kind of make up for, the fact I've never been paid. That's kind of what I think he's doing. He's just looking for a payday. And I think he said he was going to get like 20 grand to fight Dave Allen, which is more than he'll ever have been paid for a fight. So that's what I think. Oh, I'm saying, thank you, man. I just wasn't sure. Certain names, they look one way and they say them another way. All the great fighters who've undefeated records had controversial wins. Nothing controversial about 19 knockouts. Yeah, exactly. He's not put a foot wrong. 19 have tried, 19 have fallen. Big up. What's Warren rushing Dubois back at world level for? Well, I'd hardly count Dinu world level, to be fair, mate. But he obviously he's invested a lot in Daniel Dubois. I mean, like, it's weird. It's funny. It's not funny, but when you have both guys promoted to you, so they had Joyce and Dubois promoted to him, promoted to Queensbury, and when your guy wins, you've not lost. It's not like your fighter. It's not like you put Dubois in with a Matchroom guy, and the Matchroom guy won. He's going to go back to Eddie Hearn. You still have Joe Joyce, and he looks so pissed off. He really has put a lot of stock in Dubois. He really, really has. Dave Allen's come back, which ain't good. No, it's not. It's not. The guy has a missus now. He's got a missus. If I was... See, me and Dave Allen are two very different people. Extremely different people. We're nothing alike. If I was in his situation where I had that bit of money, and like, I don't chase money. Money doesn't make me happy. But if I was in that position where I was financially secure and I had my missus, if me and her were happy, that would be enough. That would be enough. You could think about starting a family or something like that. But he's deciding, no, I'm going to go back to boxing and put my health, which can't be amazing, on the line. I suppose maybe Dave Allen has an addictive personality because he had those issues with gambling back in the day. Maybe it's just like that. Maybe he just feels the rush of kind of like being in the boxing, not necessarily the boxing ring, but the build up. And so maybe he needs that and he just wants that. God knows. It's like Fury. Is eye problem? Is eye gonna be a problem for him? Yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely taking into consideration. Like, that eye will. I'm sure of it. I end up opening back up if AJ lands enough jabs on it. I'm positive. I'm sure about that. I did see that. Yeah, they were sparring. I've seen a few little clips of it. That's interesting. I can't see. Well, see, Dubois is very aggressive. Well, no, so yeah, Dubois will be very physical. I can't see Parker being that physical, which is Aura. So it's interesting, but he could be trying to box at range, Daniel Dubois, and it's interesting. It's not a bad choice for a sparring partner, to be fair. Big up to Darren. Would you pick Dubois over Chisora? That's a good question. Would I pick Dubois over Chisora? Yes, I would. I would. It wouldn't be straightforward, but I would pick Dubois over Chisora slightly. Anyone know when AJ Fury is happening? Summertime, mate, I reckon. They picked the venue. I'd say it's likely going to be in Saudi. Saudi, most likely. That's what I reckon. Somewhere in Saudi. Feel like the contract on Dubois is on Queensbury. Will rush him to get their ROI. Well, Dubois has signed This was prior to the Joe Joyce fight. He signed a 5-year deal. Was it 5 years? I think it was. I think it was 5 years with Queensberry. Now, I'm dead against fighters signing long-term deals to promoters. I don't think it's a good move at all for a fighter to do that. I think that if you want to sign maybe a 5-fight deal with a promoter, that's fine. But that to me is a little bit, that's too long. That's too long because there's so many things can happen in the immediate time. So for me, that's not a good. That wasn't a good idea by Daniel Dubois. And it could be something like that. Like they could be looking at that and thinking we need to protect our investment. They've invested a lot of money in Daniel Dubois, have Queensberry, and they just want to get something out of him. You know, I'm not necessarily saying they want to cash him out or anything like that, but they definitely want to. They definitely want to try and get as much out of him as they can. Yeah, Alan has earned some. People have told me that houses in Doncaster are not exactly expensive, but still, he has the properties. You know, you can do a lot with them. As I said, like me and Alan are two different people. I look at what Dave Allen has, and I just think I'd be happy with that. Like, you know, not his missus, obviously my missus, and you know, a home that would make me, you know, quite flipping happy, and you know, be able to do kind of what I want. But obviously, it's. I remember I heard a saying once that it's that part of people that's good is never good enough, and a lot of people suffer from that. It's where it's like you should be happy, but you're not because I have, say, a BMW, you know, M3, but he is an M5. I want the M5. It's that kind of messed up part of people. Whereas me, I'd just be happy with it, irrespective of what flipping, you know, series it is. Oh, no. Oh, I thought something was wrong with the laptop there because I clicked on a comment and it wouldn't bring it up. Yeah, I hopefully should have a new laptop either next week or the week before, or the week after, I should say. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I should have the new laptop. It's a MacBook. And I got a camera for it as well. So hopefully it's a lot more improved. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I would pick both those guys over Allen at this stage. I would. Allen wants 4 to 5 easy fights before fighting the British title, he said. You see, he's with a small hall promoter. Where is he going to get these like little stay busy? Is he going to go abroad? Because like it's like I've said to, you know, the 2 interviews I've done with, you know, Nicola Hope and Raven Chapman. I said to both those girls, it's a trickier time because you could get on small hall shows all over the UK. Like in 2019, there would be maybe about 5 shows on in the UK every weekend. Seriously, they'd be all small hall shows, so you could easily get onto one of them and get a little bit of, you know, this, that, and the other. But like now, how are you going to get 5 fights on a small hall show? It's crazy. Gee, man, how did Ty and Boot get that 79 pence donation when the minimum is 1? Do you know? I honestly don't know, mate. I know it's weird, right? So like, if I give a super chat, right? So if say like for example, if I super chat myself, I'm not going to super chat myself, but say for example, I super chat myself on my phone, I can put it as in like say £2.50 or 2.49. But if you do it on the PC, it only lets you do €1. It's vice versa with the pounds. I'm not sure. I'm nearly sure, and I'd have to go back and check my super chats, but I'm nearly sure someone donated me 50 pence once. I'd have to go back and check, and believe you me, like I've got that many, I'd be checking for a while, but I'm nearly sure someone did donate me 50 pence once. But I don't know how you do it. And like that, which I'm in the same boat as you, my minimum is a euro. And I think that right there on the phone, the minimum I can super chat is not okay. The minimum I can super chat on my phone is 99 cents. So I don't know if for some reason in the UK you guys can go lower. But if I was to donate to myself, the minimum I could donate is 99 cents. That's the minimum. And to be honest with you, considering YouTube take 32%, it's funny that it's not like for someone to donate 79 pence, he's literally going to get about 40 something pence because YouTube will take 32%. It's crazy, but I don't know how. I think it must be to do with the phone. Whatever way your phone settings are, I think that has a lot to do with it. Whatever way you set your phone. I know when I originally wanted to give a super chat, it let me pick the amount. So it actually physically let me type the amount. So I think that might have something to do with it. I couldn't tell you for definite, but I think that might have something to do with it. 79 pence. I remember that was funny. I do appreciate your 79 pence. Yeah, Saudi Arabia, I reckon. Just drink some vinegar out of your cupboard. Saves you ordering a bottle of Echo Falls. I'm worried. You know, I found a way to get it delivered to me. I don't know when I'll receive it, but it has me. I'll the first sip I'll take, I'll do it on a live stream. You know, I'll be doing one of these talk about boxings, and I'll have a little glass and just have a sip of Echo Falls, see what it's like. So we'll see. We'll see. The Echo Falls. I've drank worse. I've tried drinks that are a hell of a lot worse than Echo Falls. I'm sure of it. You know, I've drank things over the years that I'm sure. I remember once, right? This was back about 5 or 6 years ago. I was out with my friend, and he told me that he was drinking whiskey and ginger, right? But he couldn't remember if it was whiskey and ginger or if it was whiskey and gin, right? Obviously, there's quite a big difference, obviously. But he told me it was whiskey and gin, and it had a lovely taste. It was really easy to drink. So, of course, Tick Boy over here gets that, and it was dear, whiskey and gin, and it was absolutely disgusting. And then he turns around to me and he's like, "Do you remember how I said it was whiskey and gin?" Yeah, I only realized like after that it was actually ginger ale. I was like, "Well, fuck you anyway. I'm seeing double thanks to you." When Alan's 50, yeah, man, he's not going to be doing too well for himself when he comes to. I wish him nothing but the best. I really do. But Alan is a gambler. Yeah, like I don't know if it's something to do with that. I hope not. That was years ago now. That was many years ago. But I think this is the problem with I think more so nowadays with the lockdowns. You know, if fighters don't have as much to do nowadays, you know, there's not as many shows, there's not as much, you know, there's plenty of fighters who could retire, trained fighters, and it would maybe not kill the urge completely, but they're around, they're going to shows, they're still part of it. Whereas now shows are few far between. Oh, big up. Look at that. You see? 79 pence. Thanks for that. I do appreciate the 79 pence. Now that right there is how you do it. I think you do it on the phone. Appreciate the 79 pence. Thanks for that. Holy I seen that. Mate, I wouldn't let Kevin McBride anywhere near a boxing ring. Like Holyfield, whatever about Holyfield, right? Holyfield is in his what, 50s, late 50s. Have you ever heard Kevin McBride was a raging alcoholic? Kevin McBride drives trucks for a living. That's what he does. He works. He's a truck driver. That's his job. He's a truck driver. He's a raging alcoholic, or he was anyway. He's a bit slurred. The fact that he's even like, I know it's an exhibition and all, but God, that's not good. Why are you letting Kevin McBride anywhere for his own safety? Like, never mind Dave Allen. Don't let Kevin McBride get hit in the head. As I said, the man was a raging alcoholic. He drives trucks. He just, that right there is bad. You know, I really don't like that, man. I really don't like that. And the Holyfield thing, look, Holyfield wants to, you know, make a. They're leaning towards the trilogy fight, aren't they? They want to do that. They want to do Holyfield Tyson 3, and they want to sell it as an exhibition. But god damn, didn't Freddie Mills start having headaches, start having head pains, and struggled to talk before he died? He took too much punishment. Yeah, Freddie Mills took a hell of a lot in the ring. A lot of, but like, look, I talked about this a few weeks ago. Look at fighters from the early 1900s. A lot of them didn't make it to 60. Seriously, a lot of them never made it to 60 because they took a lot of damage in the ring. Obviously, back then, it wasn't even like people talk about the 90s. They didn't know much about head trauma. Well, they sure as hell didn't know much about it in the early like 1900s. So a lot of them were probably, you know, They probably should have stopped boxing fucking 10 years before they did. And they didn't know. Like, I mean, like John L. Sullivan. You ever look at pictures of John L. Sullivan was in his 50s when he died. If you ever see pictures of him, he looks like a man in his 70s or 80s. He looks like an old man. He was only in his 50s when he died. And he looked absolutely, because you go on BoxRec. BoxRec's brilliant. If you go on the BoxRec Wikipedia page, they'll show you pictures of these old fighters. And there's pictures of John L. Sullivan in his like 50s. He was, I think, 50 something. I think he was like 55, 58 when he died. And you see the pictures of him, and he looks like a really old man. Like when you see someone in their 50s now, some of them are like, look at Holyfield, like look at Bernard Hopkins. He's in his 50s, and compare that to a 50-year-old John L. Sullivan. I mean, Jesus, it's not, it's crazy to think how bad they aged back then. It's barren though. So Jordan's probably going easy on Dubois with the eye injury. Yeah, you'd imagine they're trying to cover that. If I was in Bogdan Dinu's team, I'd be doing what Lennox Lewis did when he fought Gary Mason. You know, sparring partners with like an X underneath the eye, target the eye. You know, that's what boxing is. It's a vicious game. You know, boxing is absolutely vicious. And if you need to, that's what they got to do. You know, boxing's a vicious game. I remember Lennox Lewis saying he trained like to target the eye of Gary Mason. And he did, and he ended up smashing I think he had attached retina to Gary Mason. Dave Allen said on Instagram the other day that he turned down $300K for a Dubois fight because Turn told him to do so. That's a lot of money, but do you know what? Maybe Eddie Hearn actually had his best. Like, he would have got absolutely smashed against Dubois. I don't know. Maybe. I think Eddie Hearn deep down does care about Dave Allen, because he always had a kind of a like, looked at Allen like a little brother almost. So I think Eddie Hearn does like Dave Allen. And as far as I was aware, when he fought Yoka, I don't think Eddie Hearn had any say in that, because that had nothing to do with, that wasn't Matchroom affiliated, nothing to do with Matchroom. Sorry, the mic was acting up. So I think that Eddie Hearn maybe was just looking after Dave Allen, because realistically, like, what does he? We know what Dave Allen is. What does Eddie Hearn have to gain by trying to, you know, keep Dave Allen in house and this, that? He doesn't really have anything, because we know what Dave Allen is. He's really a kind of cult follower, you know. I listened to a YouTube video once of an F1 guy, because many of you know I like F1. There's a really good YouTuber called Josh Revel, I think his name is. He does really, really good videos, really enjoyable. And he was on about a racer who was absolutely garbage. And at the start of the video, he quoted a high jumper from America. I forget the guy's name. Or like, you know, the jumpers, the ski jumpers. And he was absolutely terrible. That's what they said. They said they put rules in place in like the Winter Olympics so someone of his level could never get back in because he was that bad. But he had a cult following because people loved him. You know, they love the trier, as they say. And I guess that's what people like about Dave Allen, is that he's a trier. You know, I forget the guy he was talking about, some show jumper or jumper from America. Forget the guy's name. But I guess that's something Randy or something like that his name was. I forget. But basically, they love the trier. And he had like a cult following. There's something similar with Dave Allen. But yeah, he craves the attention. That's exactly it. Yeah, to be fair to Holyfield, he always kept himself in good nick, did Evander Holyfield. That's one thing you got to give Holyfield credit for. Yeah, I thought that all right. So because the PC is more direct. Like, you can only give, I think, even numbers, but with the phone, you can give the glorious 79 pence. No need to monetize this stream now. So we can say what we like. We got 79 pence. Appreciate that, though. Every little bit helps. It does. It genuinely does. So appreciate that. Every little bit helps, even if it is 79 pence. I think a packet of Walker's crisps is about €1. Walker's cheese and onion all the way. Holyfield looks in great shape. He does indeed. I don't want to see Holyfield in an exhibition. What if his old heart problem pops up? Yeah, God only knows. There wasn't much said about the heart problem later on in his career, though, to be fair. I don't remember much about that late on. It was more so in the mid-90s when the heart problem was an issue, but we'll have to wait and see. Same with Peter Waterman. He eventually got seriously hurt due to boxing. There's been so many fighters who've been hurt due to boxing. It really is. I like fighters to get paid. I love seeing fighters get big money fights and get big paydays. I love seeing fighters earn a lot in a short space of time and get out, because the sport is dangerous. And the longer you stick around, the more risky it is. I I hate listening to old interviews from fighters, and when you listen to them now, you hear them talking like that, and it's not nice. Even fighters at British level, like Scotty Cardle. Do you remember interviews with him back in the day? He was as clear as anything, and then you hear him, in his last fight when he got knocked out by Ricky Burns, how slurry he sounds. Kevin Mitchell. They all sound real slurred, and it's just not fun. It's just not nice, and there've been too many tragedies. That is, I muted the mic there. That was my bad. But that's literally the guy, Eddie the Eagle. That's the guy he was referencing. And that's kind of like who Dave Allen is. Eddie the Eagle. He was an absolute useless ski jumper. And he was the guy who basically, I think it was the Winter Olympics, they changed rules. So someone like him could never get back into it because he was that poor. But he had a cult following. And Dave Allen is kind of like that. He's not really going to go much. He's not going to go anywhere, but he's that trier. He's that trier that people like. And that is basically Eddie the Eagle. And there's another guy. He was a racer in F2. I don't know what he's doing now. He's only about 22. He's from India. And his name was Mahavir Raghunathan. And that's one of the few names that's long that I can actually pronounce. He was garbage. Absolutely garbage. Right? He was a danger in F2 because he was taking drivers out. He was slow as molasses. People, I want to see him again. Everyone wants to see him again because he's just so flipping. It's just so much fun to just see him, basically. It was just crazy. So Eddie the Eagle and Mahavir Raghunathan. They're the two. They're the two. It's Ireland. They're all drunk. To be fair to Kevin McBride, he's pretty much been exclusively living in Boston. He pretty much lived in the US pretty much most of his whole life. Like, he was born in Clones, which is in Monaghan, which is a real dump. But who am I to judge if you're from Monaghan? But it's the mate, I appreciated the 79 pence. You didn't have to give that, honestly, but thank you. I really do appreciate that. 999. That could be a bad omen, man. 999. Isn't that like the number of the beast? 999 or something like that? Or is that 666? Could be a bad omen, man. Could jinx this stream with that, mate. I appreciate the 10 quid. I really do, honestly, mate. Thank you for that so much. I really do appreciate that. Even just hitting the like button. We've got 38 in the chat. Even if you could just smash the like button, I'd appreciate that. That's tops, man. I really appreciate that, mate, every time. Oh, it's 666. I was wondering. Okay, well, that's made me relieved now. So I saw all the nines. I was like, oh, that could be a bad thing. You could have jinxed this stream. All right, thank God for that. Yeah, no, we're all good. Riddick Bowe is in a bad state, very sad. And they were all apparently talking to him coming back. Yeah, like, you see, I don't really like the idea, even if it's a fighter who is in very good health at 50. I don't like, even for exhibitions, it's just like, why are you coming back? But when you hear fighters like Riddick Bowe, who can barely string a sentence, I remember it a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. Remember this? He said it in an interview or something like that, that he would gladly tweet anything for 20 quid. So he would literally tweet, anything as random as you can get for 20 quid. That's how bad Bowe was in terms of his finances and his health. So it's just sad. And, you've guys like, James Toney. I love James Toney. But hearing the interviews of him, other guys as well. Has anyone ever heard Meldrick Taylor? He really started slurring his speech after the Chavez fight. you don't want to see guys like that come back and get stopped. And Danny Williams, I think he's still going along and he's still fighting. It's not a good look. And to me, it just makes the sport look. I think they should introduce an age limit. I know in amateur boxing they do, but there should really be like Oliver McCall, I think, is still having a fight now and again, and he's in his 50s. Pro fights at that, with 10-ounce gloves. Look at the difference between Hearn and Leonard in the Tyson interview. I know, man. Sugar Ray Leonard's still in very good shape, and he's in his 60s. And, still talking, perfect. And then you have Thomas Hearns, and it's just sad. You hate hearing it as well, you hate listening to it. It's just not nice. And, I remember Muhammad Ali, when he was meant to be fighting. So here's a bit of boxing trivia for you. He was getting, this is supposed as being trolled. When he was meant to fight when he was fighting Sonny Liston originally in the 60s, there was a fighter from the 30s. Can't remember the guy's name. What was his name? King Levinsky, that was it. And he fought Joe Louis, got knocked out in a round. But he was trolling Ali, saying he's going to get knocked out, this, that, and the other. And apparently, you could barely, there's no footage of it because the 60s, they didn't do it. But apparently, you couldn't make out a word he was saying. He was that punchy. And you'd imagine fighters from that generation gone. I'd say the punchiness would have been unbelievable. You probably wouldn't have even been able to tell anything they were saying. Fighters who were fighting in the 20s and 30s, they took so much punishment. It's really quite incredible when you look at someone like Archie Moore, who was knocked out a lot of times, who had so many tough fights in his career. When you hear him in interviews, he's just perfect. Like there's not even a hit. And Archie Morris took a beating in his career many times. And there's a great interview with him where he's talking about the sport of boxing just as a whole. And people are saying, like, how is he so clear? Like, it's as clear as anything, and he's well spoken. And Archie Moore would have taken more abuse than a lot of guys who ended up in a worse way. Seriously. It's crazy the way that is. Yeah, I reckon Ortiz, if he's not 50, he's close to it. Definitely. Evander Holyfield made so much money that I used to squander it. Too many vultures. Yeah. But see, I don't think it's just that. I think as well as that, it's the fact that, like, a lot of people spend money recklessly. Like, I know a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a while because of the lockdown. But he got a job. He got a very good job about 5 or 6 years ago where he was making very good money. Very good. Like, I mean, well above the living wage, like well above the 50K mark, and he's about the same age as me, quite young. And it's the spending and it's the flashiness that really kind of, I just don't like, I don't understand that. Like, every year a new iPhone, he throws the old iPhone out, and this, that, and the other. It's like, but yeah, he's always saying I'm skint. It's like, mate, you make triple what I make, like, literally. No, you make double what I make. And yeah, how? Why? Because I don't go around buying things that I don't need. I've never been a materialistic guy. I like, I'm very simple when it comes to, I like, simple little things. Like, I buy a lot of scented oils and candles and stuff like that. And I get my clothes in Boohoo. I'm really kind of quite simple at that. I like cars. That's the only thing. I do like cars. I like German and Italian cars. That's about it. That's the height of kind of my kind of thing. That's the kind of like, but that's because since I was a kid, I've loved racing and I've loved cars since I was a kid. Like, before I found boxing, I had racing. So it's just boxing overtook it because I just love boxing more. But that's the kind of only thing. But even then, I'm very selective about cars. Like, I wouldn't buy like I've had a 3 Series Beamer, but I wouldn't buy another Beamer because they're too expensive to fix. If anything goes, like, I mean, the headlights are a couple of £100. If the airbags are I never deployed the airbags, but they're very sensitive. And if you do, you may as well write the car off because it costs more to reset an airbag than it does anything else. Even if you did no damage to the car, even if it just deployed, you may as well write that car off. Seriously. Who's fighting on the DAZN Italy? Because I know there was some DAZN cards. Who's fighting on DAZN Italy? Be interested to know. I'll have a check at that. Probably whenever we finish this live stream, I'll go for another half hour or so. But whenever we finish this weekend, I'll check out that DAZN Italy card. Always happy to watch some boxing. Doesn't matter where it is. I'll watch boxing pretty much anywhere, to be honest with you. Williams has managed 100% to get in Andre's head. I'm still taking Demetrius Andre to win this fight. You see, I said it in my prediction video and I maintain it. Liam Williams comes across as very much an on-top fighter. And I think if Demetrius Andre starts making it hard for Liam Williams in there, then for me, I reckon he's not, I'm not going to say he's going to quit, no, but I reckon he's going to end up struggling a little bit in there. So for me, I'm thinking that Demetrius Andre, he's just going to use, Demetrius Andre has great footwork. He's going to use his legs. He's going to be good to go. And I think he's going to win the fight on points. I think he's going to win it on points. Don't get me wrong, Liam Williams is going to have success in there, definitely. He's going to have moments where he is making Demetrius Andre uncomfy. But I just think that Demetrius Andre has a lot of tools. I've always rated him, and I think he's going to show it. I think this weekend he's going to show it. It's at a good time for us. It's at a reasonable time for us, thankfully. So I think Demetrius Andre is going to win this fight on points, definitely. And appreciate that, mate. Smashing the like button. Smashing the like button. Your bad voice is aftershave and watches. I don't have a watch. I have a Fitbit. That's my watch, which is nice. In terms of aftershave, my mom, she works basically she works in fragrances. So she gets me all my aftershaves for free. And she knows what ones I like, so I don't have to pay for them, which is good. So I don't really spend it on that. I'm very simple. I like candles and I love candles, and I like scented oils because they make the room smell real nice and they're just lovely. That's what I do. Obviously, if my missus was around, I'd be getting her like a lot of shit because I always like any girl I'm ever seeing, I always get them a lot. I'm always good to them. I always get them like little gifts and all and stuff like that. But I like to see how that goes. There's still a work in progress with certain someone. God knows how that's going to end. But yeah, no, it's been good. That pick of Kella, it gets me every time. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's a fucking brilliant pick. It's the perfect pick of Kella Sauerland. I fucking love it. It's fucking hilarious. Big up to Dan. Personally, think Jake Paul would KO Askren in 1 to 3 rounds. Do you agree? Mate, I'm going to be honest and frank. I could give less of a shit about that fight. I seriously, honestly could give less of a shit about that fight. I really couldn't care less. For me, it's just it. I was getting my hair cut earlier, right? And a few of the lads were on about it. Well, the lads actually said to me, "Are you watching the fight the weekend?" And me being, thinking that they're talking about Demetrius Andre versus Liam Williams, I was like, "Oh yeah, man!" And I turned around and I said, "Yeah," and it's on a great time for us over here. It's on our time. And they were like, "No, it's not. It's on at like 3 in the morning." And I'm like, "No, Liam Williams versus who's Liam Williams?" I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're on about Ben Askren." I was like, "Yeah, I really could give less of a shit about it." To be honest with you, Ben Askren, I did have a look at some of his striking. He's absolutely terrible. I've never seen a striker as bad. Saying that, I've not really watched a lot of UFC or MMA, but still, he looked terrible. Although someone did say to me that in 2017, he had 4 fights in the UFC. And in all them fights, he had something like 0 strikes landed on him. So obviously his defense is not too shabby if you're not getting any strikes landed. So maybe he could be able to fiddle his way around it. Who knows? But you believe Ben Askren can KO Jake Paul? Jake Paul is not a nice guy. He's an idiot, but he's definitely good at selling himself and selling this fight. He sold it to a lot of people. I'm just not interested in it, to be honest with you, but he sold it to a lot of people. He definitely has. They have Instagram beef. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, even Shannon Briggs, even though he's not too bad in terms of his speech, and although he's in good shape, I still wouldn't want to see him come back in. Yeah, read that. Yeah, Meldrick Taylor is sad. It's very sad. And the worst part is, he was still getting knocked out badly when it was apparent. Like, with Dave Allen, his speech is not great, but I remember watching the tale of Hagler, or the tale of Chavez versus Taylor, and they were interviewing him, I think 2002, and he could barely string a sentence, and he was still going into fights, and he was still getting knocked out. It was just like, that shouldn't be. That just shouldn't be. It shouldn't be happening. Well, that's good to know that Danny Williams retired. That definitely is good to know. Intrigued by Mike Tyson coming back, but also worried. I think Mike should just call it a day. Yeah, the problem with Mike is you do worry that he might end up having an exhibition where he looks good, and that might inspire him to say, you know what, I'll try and go in this legit. At the end of the day, Mike Tyson, like, there are like Kamil Sakalowski. Would you pick Mike Tyson over him? I wouldn't. So that's the danger. You think Danny Williams? What I should have think? Oh yeah, man, I couldn't. I don't want to know the state Danny Williams could be in. I really hope I hope he never comes back to the ring again. I seriously do, because it's just tragic seeing him. It really was. Give me 2 sex peeps. All right, apologies for that. I just have to sort something out there. Andre should win, but if he loses, biggest fraud in boxing because of the hype. I believe Demetrius Andre is good. I believe he is talented. I believe he'll win. I believe that he just needs this breakout moment. That's what I believe with Demetrius Andre. You know, if I'm wrong, so be it. But I just believe he needs that breakout, standout moment. That's what I think with Demetrius Andre. I really do. I think he's a good fighter. I think that because he's been coasting through his career, not fighting the best, and this, that, and the other, that it's left a bit of a bad taste on people. But I genuinely do believe that we will see the best Demetrius Andre tomorrow night. And I think that he is a good fighter. He's annoyed me in the past with the way he's just, just casually gone through his career. But I really do. I see a good fighter in there. I really do. Hey, G-Man, I want to see. I don't know who that is, mate, to be honest with you. I really don't. I'll have a Google search of him now. I haven't heard of him yet. Let me have a little Google search. Hemi Aheo. Oh, I think you just spelled his. Is this the guy? Oh yeah, that's the guy you just spelled his name. Okay. Yeah, I seen him, Hemi Aheo. I seen him against. That was a fun little fight against Julius Long. He looked like a mini Mike Tyson. Not obviously as good, but he looked very explosive, and that was a fun fight. That was better than the main event. That little fight, that really was. I think Prograis stops him. Regis Prograis is special. He really is. He really is special, Regis Prograis. I believe. I think Regis Prograis is special, and I think that special fighters will beat him. Like Josh Taylor beat him. I think Josh Taylor's going to be undisputed. I think he's going to have plenty of success at welterweight. Askren could be durable. He could be. He could be, but we need to wait and see. I'm not going to. I might watch the highlights the next day, but I'm definitely not going to stay up for anything like that. And, is there any fights on next week? I don't think there is. I know I'll be watching Pick Up the Nicola Hope, but I'll be watching her fight next week. I was an idiot. Like, I knew it was the 24th, but I kept saying it was this Saturday. It's not. It's next week. And I felt real bad then because I was like, oh, shit, I hope she doesn't think I wasn't listening. I just kept thinking it was this Saturday. It's only an 8-round. It'll probably go the distance. Yeah. Well, could even go the distance, to be honest with you. I think those celebrities are ruining boxing. It's a bit all over the place, to be honest with you. I think that, Could you put it like this? Could you imagine they put Jake Paul in there against a legit light heavyweight or a legit cruiserweight? He would get absolutely smashed. Imagine giving him a world title shot against a Lunga Makabu or someone like that. Holy shit. The big cactus is a bit. I was worried for Ted Cheeseman. Yeah, Ted Cheeseman does worry me now, to be fair. Ted Cheeseman is someone who looks older than he is in the nicest way. He looks like he's only 25, but he looks older. And he's taken a lot of punishment in his career. He really has. He's entertaining. Like, best believe, whenever I hear Ted Cheeseman's on a bill, I'm happy because I know I'm going to get a good fight. But at the end of the day, when I see him get hit so much and Ted Cheeseman can box a little. He's got decent boxing skills. He just gets hit way too much. Same with Sam Egerton. Ted Cheeseman is like a better version of Sam Egerton. Although Sam Egerton has technically accomplished more, Ted Cheeseman is better. He's technically better. But Ted Cheeseman, I mean, Jesus, you see, again, like, Cheeseman's someone who was a young family. And for me, like obviously, I was never good enough to go pro. I was never good enough as a boxer to do what Cheeseman's done. But if my missus had a baby and I had a young family and I was in his position, I'd want to make sure that I'm looking after my health, because I want to be around to be, there and, be, all there to see my kids grow up, and obviously that's probably one of the reasons why I was never that good as a boxer, because I always let things kind of get in on top of it. That's why I wasn't that good. I had a few little strengths, I could punch a bit with the left hook, but that was really about it. G-Man, yeah, Askren dodged punches, but now he's had a hip replacement. Oh, really? That might hinder him a bit. Yeah, because one of the guys was saying that to me today. He was like, "Well, Askren has got good defense. He doesn't get hit a lot." And I know nothing. I never heard Ben Askren up until this fight, so I wasn't gonna say, "Oh, really?" I'd never even heard of Ben Askren. Yeah, it actually is when you think about it. It actually is crazy. I heard Paul said this fight game has an over a decade had experience in MMA. I heard Paul said this is the fight game like Askren has not experience. Yeah, I read that all arse race. Yeah, no, he's had experience in MMA. It's different, but we'll see. I'd say they're both making an absolute rake of cash. Incredible, doesn't display any deterioration in 100+ fights. Some fighters are like that. It's mental when you think about it. But some fighters can have 100 fights and they're perfect. And other fighters can have, you see, what I think we need to take into consideration is that you'll box in sparring a lot more rounds than you ever will as a pro fight. And, you can have wars in sparring. Sparring can turn ugly real quick. And, some of them could let it go on too long. I think that head guards nowadays, like, put it to you like this, right? About 2 years ago, I got an Everlast head guard. And I got it for sparring. And the first time I sparred in it, I will never forget the pains and I wasn't even hit clean. I was hit clean once in 4 rounds. And the pains in my head were unreal, to the point where even when I was blocking shots on the gloves, my head was sore because the head guard was so soft and so tight that whenever the shot even grazed on the head guard, it really hurt. And I had headaches for days after it. That can't be good. And I remember using an old head guard then the next time in sparring, because I had to try and break the other head guard in by just sitting on it. And I used an old head guard, which was clearly bashed up. But yeah, I put it on and I was fine. I just boxed like normal. But when I used the Everlast, oh my God, the pains. That can't be good. That has to play a factor in it. Has to be. If Andrade comes through Williams, what do you think? Andre versus Eubank, that's a good fight. I would heavily favor Demetrius Andre to win that fight. In fact, I'd make him firm favorite personally. He'd box the head off Eubank Jr. Andre wins the bit of a good fight. If Eubank Jr. wants a shot at the winner, he better pray that Liam Williams wins, because that stylistically is a good fight for Eubank Jr. Demetrius Andre will box rings around Eubank Jr. He will box rings around him. Seriously. And I like Eubank Jr., but he will literally box rings around Eubank Jr. with Demetrius Andre. Mike Tyson versus Trevor Bryan. Still go for Trevor Bryan now, mate. Even now. I think Canelo is going to beat Billy Joe Saunders. What do you think? I agree. Although I think it's a lot closer than other people have it. You know, I see a lot of people come out and say, oh, it's a mismatch. It's this, that, and the other. I don't think it's a mismatch at all. You know, I think that Billy Joe has a very good chance. I'm not going to pick him to win because I know Canelo. I know he's going to have politics on his side. But I definitely think that Billy Joe has the tools to upset Canelo, or offset him, I should say. Not necessarily upset, but offset him. So for me, Billy Joe versus Canelo, it's a great fight. It might not be the most entertaining fight in the world, but it's going to be interesting to watch. Yeah, it was just his last name was there. I thought that was who you meant, all right, because the name looked familiar. But I just, when it was, he spelled it with an O, it was spelled with an A. That's why I just thought. But yeah, he looks good. He looks a good little prospect. That cruiserweight going to the Olympics, the real tall guy, although he only lasted a minute in that fight, he looks useful. I forget his name. Forget the guy's name. The real tall guy. He was on commentary on that fight as well. He looked useful. You know, I liked what I saw from him. He looked all right. Didn't realize Danny Williams. Yeah, man, it's crazy. You know, Danny Williams a long way removed from, you know, him knocking out Mark Porter. Johnny Williams would. Oh yeah, even now. Whatever we say about Johnny Nelson, he's still in good shape. You know, banging Kirsty Gallagher, fair play to him. And, you know, he definitely beat the crap out of Jake Paul. Danny, I think he is now. I think someone said that earlier in the chat that he's gonzo. He's retired. Both Egg and Cheeseman, both fights look, oh yeah, look 10. Both fights look 10 years older. I'm young. I'm older than both those guys. And I do not take, well, to be fair, like, I hate tooting my own horn, but I do think I've aged pretty, because I very seldom drink and I don't smoke or anything like that. So I think there's a lot of people I know younger than me who, believe you me, they look older. Believe you me, they look older. I think you and Hatman said sit on the head guard first. Yeah, no. You see, a head guard, when you first get it, it's very soft and it's not worn in. So you have to sit on it. You know, I made that mistake when I got it first. I was just so keen to use it that I wore it to the gym, but you really need to sit on it. You need to sit on it for a while just to get it broken in, because you break a head guard in with punches. That's as simple as how you do it. But the material is so soft in head guards, like especially nowadays, you'd be surprised how soft they are. For me, it can't be good. You know, it can't be good for you, because you get, even when it was broken in, whenever I get hit with a really good shot, and I know what it feels like to get hit prior to that, but it was almost like, the best way to describe it is, I'd liken it to a shock almost. You know, not literally, but that's almost how I'd liken it to. And that had me worried, because you could get hit with the same shot with an old head guard, which doesn't have a soft material, and it just feels fine. It feels normal. But with these, like, really, really soft head, it's a worry. And I can't help but feel that that's a contributing factor to what some people are suffering with. You know, when you talk about fighters, you know, who've been in the gym, who've had only, you know, 20 fights, but already showing signs of, you know, deterioration there in their, you know, speech. I can't help but feel the head guards have something to deal with it. But definitely, if anyone does buy a new head guard, my advice would be a couple of hours you need to be sat on. Definitely a couple of hours you need to sit on it just to break it in. Just to break it in. Tony was notorious sparring guy. Well, apparently that's all James Toney would do. Is he didn't like running. He didn't like he never hit the bag. He never shadow boxed. He just sparred. You know, and that's why I say sparring. If you spend 10 years as a boxer, you could fight 300 rounds in a pro ring, but you could spar thousands of rounds in the gym. So a lot of spars can go into a spar war. I've seen spars escalate real quick in the gym, like real quick. And there have been times where, especially in one amateur gym I was in when I first started, they were notorious for letting spars go on way too long when it was obvious both guys were going to cripple themselves. Like I remember seeing a spar once, and it was fun to watch. I'm not going to lie, it was. But they had these two amateurs getting ready for a fight, and the two of them were absolutely knocking the lumps out of one another. And I was thinking, these guys have a fight not coming up not so long. Would you really want it to be, battering one another like this? And they were like, it's entertainment. It's entertainment. I was like, yeah, but like, still, like, it's both guys could end up. What if one of the guys ends up with an injury, like, and you have to pull him from the show or something? It's just crazy. Are there any good Irish prospects coming through? There are quite a few good young MMA fighters. Yeah, there's a few. Stephen McKenna is looking good, big puncher. Paddy Donovan, in my opinion, is very good. He's got a future ahead of him. The one thing about Paddy Donovan is he's in a stacked division, the welterweight division. So it's a bit tricky, because obviously there's a lot of good fighters in it. But Paddy Donovan he looks excellent. He looks very good, trained by Andy Lee. My mate Niall O'Connor, he's finally starting to get his career kind of back up and running. He had a lot of bad luck over the last 2 years. He really did, between fighters pulling out of fights, and the Rona. He's had a lot of bad luck, but he is a very good fighter. He really is. He's on small hall shows at the minute, but he's a very, very good fighter. He's a super featherweight / lightweight, and he is very good, very skillful fighter. So some guys like that who are up and coming. You have other guys as well, like Victor Rabbi. He's not too shabby. He's not really a puncher though, but he's not too shabby. So guys like that up and coming, they're good names, definitely. Yeah, Tony was notorious. Mike Tyson used to prefer to spar without headgear. You see, another thing with headgear, it's people don't maybe underestimate this. It's very easy to get cut with the headgear on, believe it or not, because the headgear is so close to your eyes and so close to little parts that if it does kind of turn around like that, it can actually cut you. The headgear is very. I would recommend sparring with it on, definitely, 100%. But you want to be careful with what you get. Like me, I got an Everlast face protector, so it has the bar around the nose, which does help. I'm not gonna lie, it really does. It really helps having that bar around the nose. You can still get hit in the nose. Don't get me wrong, I got hit plenty of times, but that little bit of extra protection. You see, when I was sparring, when I originally got it, I had no fight dates. So I didn't feel the need to, get a bloody nose for no reason. So that's why I got that. If I had a fight coming up sooner, I would get the one with the cheek protectors, but the nose exposed, because the problem with the bars is you get too used to them in sparring. You do, because they do protect your nose quite a bit, and you do get a bit too used to them. So you end up the minute you get a good shot on the nose after wearing it for so long, your eyes will start to water. That's one thing I will say. But if you're just sparring for the fun and you're not really intending on fighting or anything like that, get one with a face protector. Seriously, it just benefits you. You can still get hit on the nose, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot lesser because it has a lot of foam to get through. Big up to Nick Harmer every time. I hope you're all good, mate. I really hope you and your family are keeping well. 30. We got 40 in the chat now. Smash the like, but if you could, lads and lassies, I'd appreciate that very much. So I was texting Unrivaled earlier because I know he's streaming coming up to his birthday, and I was like, you don't mind if I go live later? Because I always feel like a dick whenever I stream when some of the lads are streaming. D is live now and Mark is, but I wanted to get this in, so we doing it. But big up to Nick, big up to Nicholas as well, every single time. Great bunch of lads. That's a good question. Callum Johnson versus Anthony Yarde, who would wins? Well, stylistically, Callum Johnson would benefit Anthony Yarde more than someone like a Lyndon Artis, obviously, because Callum Johnson is more come forward. He's typical Joe Gallagher. So you would imagine that Callum Johnson would play into Anthony Yarde's strengths a lot more. Having said that, Callum Johnson is very physical, very strong. He's got world-class punching power. So it's a good leveler. If I had to put money, I would lean towards Anthony Yarde because I think that Anthony Yard is fresher. He's younger. The inactivity for Callum Johnson is an issue because he's not really he in the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, he's had about 4 fights, and some of them have gone. And no, they've all gone short. So the inactivity for Callum Johnson, the fact he's in the wrong side of 30, would lead me to favor Anthony Yard in that fight. But I could easily see Callum Johnson knocking Anthony Yard out easily. But if I had to, I would lean towards Anthony Yard. I think, as I said, stylistically, he plays a lot more into Anthony Yard's strengths than someone like a Lyndon Artis. That's what I think. Any chance of seeing Usyk? I like that fight. I think that's a very good fight. I'd like to see it. I reckon we will. I seen on Twitter, because I actually just went onto Twitter there a second ago, and I clicked on. I wasn't really reading. I was just checking my inbox because someone messaged me. Someone messaged me there. Frank Warren has stated that Alexander Usyk, Jojo, is currently paused. They're just waiting for AJ Fury, which is interesting. But I like that fight. I definitely do. I definitely do. And I want to big up, before I do anything, right there, so I want to text my mate here. I want to big up to my mate Dan, because he's been designing thumbnails. So you know the new thumbnails we have on the channel? You know, they've been pretty good. And I have to big up Dan for that, because he's been the guy who's been sending them on. He's been making them. And I got to big him up for that as well. You know, fair play to him. Because he just messaged me out of the blue and said, do you mind if I do some thumbnails for you? And I was like, go for it. And, I got to big him up for that. So he just messaged me on Twitter about that. But big up to him for doing that. But yeah, going back to boxing. I think that's a great fight. I think that's an interesting fight. I'd go with Usyk to win, but I think Parker would give him fits. I really do. Amir Khan goes hard in sparring. That might explain some things. Do you remember when Amir Khan said that he sparred Andre Ward and Andre Ward never hurt him once? And then Andre Ward came out and said, I never sparred Amir Khan. Can you imagine that? That was him. That was him back when he was with Virgil Hunter, and he was trying to say he had a good chin. Yeah, I took Andre Ward's power, no problem. And yeah, Andre Ward was like, I never sparred this guy. The thumbnails are great. Yeah, big up to Big Dan. He's been helping me out a lot, a hell of a lot on this channel. Big up to him. But yeah, I'm glad you're liking them. He does them. And hopefully when I get the new laptop, he's going to help me out with editing a bit more, because the files are just too big to send on this one. So we've got a few plans. We got a few plans. He's been doing good work. So big up to Dan every time. If he's in the chat, I don't know, but big up to Dan helping me out with thumbnails, because I'm hopeless at editing. Like, I can edit the videos all right, but in terms of, making thumbnails and stuff like that, I'm about as useful as a 2-pound note. Khan's best win is Madonna. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. That's his best win. Imagine people. Just, can you imagine, right, if us boxing YouTubers, if the YTBC was a big thing in 2010 when that fight was announced, imagine our reaction to that fight being announced, and imagine the reaction to Khan winning when you look back in hindsight. This is a guy who got buzzed by Chris Algieri, and he went in there and he fought Marcus Maidana, who was a massive puncher, pressure fighter. I was able to beat him. That was his best win, easily. Amir Khan, when he was on it, he really was. I mean, put it like this. Devin Alexander beat Marcus Maidana, and Amir Khan, in my opinion, his best performance, not his best win, his best performance was against Devin Alexander. He didn't put a foot wrong in that fight. That was his career best performance against Devin Alexander. Alexander really was left lost in that fight. And I think Alexander still had it wasn't like Alexander was shot or anything like that. No, I think that Amir Khan was just too good. He was very good against southpaws, was Amir Khan. He really was. He had a way of just getting away from that southpaw left. It's weird. Like, you would think that Amir Khan would be the other way around. because obviously as an orthodox fighter, you're expected to fight more orthodox. But he had trouble getting away from right hands, but yet the left hand of a southpaw, he could always seem to avoid. And yes, I agree. Joe was there, spot on. Best performance. Not his best win, but his best performance. Kambosos Jr. brought the heat to the press conference. I like Kambosos Jr. You know, he seems cool. I'm glad he's getting paid. That's the main thing. I like these fighters to get paid. That's what I want to see from these fighters, is that they get paid. But we've been talking a lot in the stream about fighters who've been, suffering from, post-ring disorder or whatever you want to call it. Just they're slurring speeches a lot. And I like to see fighters get paid a lot of money early, get in and get out, and take care of your family with your faculties on in one tact. That's what I like to see. But I like Kambosos. He's maybe not the most entertaining fighter in the world to watch, but as a person, he seems cool. I don't like Mark going live until his birthday next Thursday. I don't know how he's going to swing that. I can't envision how he's going to swing that. I mean, big up to Mark. If he can do it, happy days. But how is he going to swing that? It's like, has anyone ever heard of IRL streamers? For those who haven't, IRL is like in real life. And they literally stream their whole lives. They have a phone hooked up to the internet with a charger, and they stream everything. They stream themselves eating a meal, sleeping. I remember watched a documentary on YouTube about one IRL streamer, forget the guy's name, where he set it up as though he streamed himself sleeping. So whenever you donated money, his like alarm would go off. So the guy would be trying to sleep, and someone would donate like £5 and his alarm would go off, and it kept it. It's a good way to make money, I suppose, if you think about it. If you want me to sleep, just don't donate. If you want me to keep waking up, donate £5. I think he had like something like 20 donations in something like 8 hours. So, he got £100 just for sleeping and waking up every like 2 seconds. It was crazy. Callum Johnson versus Lyndon Arthurs. Now that's an interesting one. I like Lyndon Arthurs. He is a good fighter. I hope, like, I don't want to sound disrespectful. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but when I watched the Anthony Yard fight, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think he lost that fight more than Arthurs, or more than Yard won it. I think Yard lost that fight more than Arthurs won it. So for me, maybe that's his level. And I think Callum Johnson is level above that. And I think that Callum, put it like this, when Anthony Yard did press the action against Lyndon Arthurs, he had success. And Callum Johnson he's more seasoned in his pressure fighting. So I reckon that he will be definitely able to, close the range and get in on Lyndon Arthurs. And, he hits hard. He hits very hard. I'm just reading here on Twitter, right? Frank Warren has revealed, right? This is breaking news, G-Man breaking news. Frank Warren has revealed the WBA have put in writing that the winner of Daniel Dubois versus Bogdan Dinu will be the mandatory for the WBA regular title currently held by Trevor Bryan. So the winner of that fight will get a crack at Trevor Bryan. I mean, so much for building Dubois up early. I see what they're doing with that, but Jesus, they're putting them in. They really are. It's crazy. I did ask the question, what if he'd beaten Joe Joyce, what would they have done next? I'd imagine this is similar. They probably would have done this, but Jesus Christ. They want to fight him against Trevor Bryan. I'd still pick Dubois to win that fight, to be honest with you, lads. I would. Yeah, I think Khan should have retired after the Garcia fight. Khan was never going to retire after that fight. What annoys me about Amir Khan, right, is that before he fought Canelo, he was mandatory for Danny Garcia's 147-pound title. I would have loved to have seen that rematch. I think that Amir Khan could have beaten Danny Garcia in that rematch. And there are things about Amir Khan that always annoyed me, is that he always chased the glory fights with the big names rather than try and avenge the losses. Like, he was mandatory for Danny Garcia when Danny Garcia was WBC champion. He could have had that rematch. I think that Amir Khan, a bit more disciplined, could have beaten Danny Garcia. The best Amir Khan I've seen was with Virgil Hunter. He was very disciplined. He was safety first. He was boxing very well. When he was with Freddie Roach, if you ever go back and look at Amir Khan when he was trained by Freddie Roach, his footwork was all over the place. You'll notice that. He would stand so upright with Freddie Roach. His legs would come together and he'd just be kind of running around the ring. Pot shotting, running around the ring. When he went to Virgil Hunter is a good trainer. He was able to really get Amir Khan to keep his shape a lot better, a lot more defensively sound. He was much better under Virgil Hunter. Much better. Yo, Gene, I probably missed it. What's your prediction for Chisora Parker? Parker to win the fight on points. I might do a video before I do my prediction, just asking the question, because I think Andy Lee is going to work wonders with Joseph Parker personally. But I might just make a video on that before I do the prediction. Just before I do it. Like Fury sparring with McGregor. Oh, do you remember the Paulie Malignaggi McGregor sparring? That was so funny. That was just so... Do you know something, right? It's been 4 years, but I still have PTSD from the McGregor situation. Like, at the time, the job I was in, it was me in a call center, and there was like 100 other people, maybe more, at any given time, and none of them were boxing fans. None of them were. And they all knew I was a boxing fan, so they were always asking me, McGregor, does he have a chance? No. Are you sure? No, he doesn't have a chance. I remember me and my friend went to Subway for lunch one day, and he was a massive McGregor fan, right? And I was explaining how boxing is a different sport. And some guy queuing in Subway to get his lunch came into the conversation and was like, I'm telling you now, so he used to box. I'm like, what the fuck? That's how bad it got, that people who weren't even, started coming into the conversation and saying, oh, McGregor has a chance, mate. And I was like, holy shit, will it ever end? And I remember when fight week, I was like, it's nearly fucking done. It's nearly done. Someone came up to me as well one of the days, and he was like, yo, G, you know a lot about boxing, don't you? Obviously, I wasn't doing videos at the time. I wish I was. Wish I'd done this sooner. But he comes up to me and he's like, I done a bet on Mayweather McGregor. I'm like, all right, what did you do? He's like, well, I'll tell you, I think this bet has a good chance of coming true. I was like, all right, what did you do? I looked at it and my jaw hit the floor. And he was serious that he thought this would work. McGregor to win every round and knock Floyd out in the 12th. I was crazy odds. And he was like, I think I have a good shot with that. I was like, I think I have a good shot with Ali Drew, but, stranger things have happened. We live in reality, as they say. The WBA mandatory is coming up soon. Could we see AJ Fury? No, they'll definitely do. They're definitely going to do Trevor Bryan. I wonder what's happening with Manuel Chardo, because if he's the champion in recess, surely he should be the first in line to get a crack. That's just because he's fighting Lovejoy. If he's champion in recess, surely he should be able to get a crack ahead of Daniel Dubois, which is bizarre. Anyway, guys, got to go. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Big up to Randy. Enjoy your evening, mate. Enjoy your evening. And big up to Hashman Boxing. Excellent guy. Great channel. Big up to you, man. Williams is good, but it's mad how many people think he smashes Andre. I can't see it. I think Demetrius Andre is going to win this fight on points. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. It won't be, but I think he's going to win it on points. Probably about 9-3 or 8-6 or 8-4. That's what I think. Yeah, he had to win every round and knock Floyd out in the 12th. And his rationale from it was that Floyd's been out of the ring and he's old. And I was like, mate, you don't know anything about boxing. If you put money on McGregor to win a round or two, I could get that. But to win every round and knock Floyd out in the 12th, and you were actually looking at me like, this is a good bet, I was like, mate, come on now. That's the silliest bet. And obviously, it was weird, right? Because when that all ended, I'm not going to lie, I was so happy when that all ended. I was just like, thank God for that. Because but by the end, I was just like, oh, thank God for that. I was just sick of it. I was sick of listening to the, I think Floyd will win. I think McGregor will this. I was just like, no. Yeah, I haven't done my picks, actually. I'm going to do them straight after here. I'm going with Demetrius Andre on points. There's some good little scraps this weekend, but I'm definitely going with Demetrius Andre on points. That's my pick. I done well last week. I had a really good week last week. I didn't top the league or anything like that last week, but there was a few fights I wish I just small little things. Like for example, I had a Jagba to win in 4 rounds, and I was so tempted to put him down to win in 3, and I didn't. And I was so tempted. Like I literally had it typed down, and then I edited it. I put Joe Smith to win a majority decision, and I said, no, it'll be unanimous. And it's those little things. Like I think if I'd done them and I got the extra 10 points, I could have actually topped it. So it's those little fine details. That's why I love the prediction league so much. It's those little details that has you kind of thinking, oh shit. Dave isn't financially secure, made 200, 300K from boxing. Yeah, but he is managing fighters as well, so he's making money from that as well, I would imagine. It's hard to know with Alan, to be honest with you. It really is. You know, he has the houses, and as he says, like he's 2 houses, so he's obviously doing well enough. But it's just crazy. It's just crazy that he's coming back. I look. I hope to God he's okay. I might not particularly have much time for the guy, but I hope when he finishes boxing the second time, that he finishes it healthy and not slurring speech or, coming out worse than what he did. Because I just don't, no matter what I think about a fighter, whether I like him or not, even Officer KO'd Kennedy, I just want these fighters to be all right in the end. I don't want to see them get seriously hurt, or come out with slurred speeches. None of that. Average last week will finish top 15 if I'm lucky. I'm trying to get top 20, mate. I think I can still reasonably do it. Like, I'm still in with a shot. I'm not far off it, but this season was not as good as last. Like last season, I had like a little lucky run where I was doing really well. I topped the league one week, and then I just faded. This season has been a bit more. I've kind of been the opposite. I've started off terrible, but as the weeks have gone on, I've gone a lot better. So hopefully next season I can put it all together. Big up to Ian Hamilton. Hey G man, you can thank Gaddy for putting me towards your channel. My dad also from your neck of the woods as well. Oh man, big up. Whereabouts in Ireland is he from? Is he from Dublin, or is he like from a different county, or whereabouts? When AJ Fury happened, I'm throwing a massive party at my house. It'd be huge. I really want to go to it, and I am going to try my best to get over to that fight by hook or by crook. But if not, that's a fight that you watch with your friends, and that's what I'll be doing. I'll definitely be watching it with my friends or my missus, one or the other. So that's what I'll be doing. But big up to you, man. Where's your dad from in Ireland? Is he from Dublin, or is he from like a different county? Be interested to know. I hope Dave Allen spars Usyk again and gets put off coming back. Do you know what? Do you remember any of the videos I done where I said that Dave Allen, because what was it he said? He was saying before he retired, I said certain things. No, it was when he announced he was retired. I said that this was before the footage was emerged. I said, I wonder if something happened in that spar that put him off boxing, that he took a beating or he realized the gap was too high. And then the images emerged of him getting really badly hurt by Usyk, and I was like, that explains it. And I wonder if he's forgotten about that now and just said, maybe it was down to this, maybe it was down to that. It's a weird one. I hope to God, whatever happens to him, I hope he ends up all right. I don't want to see the guy get hurt or stretched out or anything like that. Like, I hope he has his few fights, doesn't take too much punishment, makes a bit of money, and just gets out with all his faculties. Because I said it once, I'll say it again. I really hate seeing fighters come in there a certain one way and then leave another, and I want not in a good way. I'm sure there are fighters who've made loads of money who would give all that money back just to be able to communicate properly or have have their health the way it should be. I'm sure there are loads of fighters like that who would give it all away. Terry Norris. It's very sad listening to him speak. I love Terry Norris, but when you hear him speak now, he's very bad. He's still in very good shape, Terry Norris. He is, but hearing him speak is very sad. Who's the best welterweight in Britain? It's a good question, actually. That's a very good question, actually. Who is the best welterweight in Britain? I wouldn't I wouldn't say. I want to say Conor Ben, but I don't necessarily know. Let's look at welterweights in Britain really quickly, because Conor Ben for me is doing the best out of them all. I mean, Kell Brook is ranked number 1 by BoxRec. I wouldn't say necessarily Kell Brook. Probably McKinson. McKinson really shocked me. You know, I was very, very high on Chris Congo. Extremely high on Chris Congo. As many of you will know, I was very impressed with Chris Congo. McKinson looked very good in that fight. McKinson and Ben are probably 1 and 2. You know, you've Kell Brook still knocking around. You have Amir Khan, but realistically, how good are they at this stage in their careers? Would you pick Conor Ben over them? I mean, Kell Brook looks completely shot. He really does. Sad sight. I don't know how good Amir Khan is. He's been out of the ring for a while. Then you got Josh Kelly, Chris Jenkins, Lewis Crooker. Yeah, you would say either Ben or Kinston, one or the other. I don't mind what order you have them in, to be honest with you. If you have Conor Ben ahead, I really wouldn't mind. But I would say that probably if I had to pick, like Hassman says here, I would pick Conor Ben over Chris Kinston. I was a bit annoyed that they didn't mention Avanesian to Conor Ben or Conor Ben at all, because I think Avanesian versus Ben is a good fight. I would make Avanesian favorite in that fight personally. Spence is waiting for Crawford to get old. He could potentially be, but I don't like that Spence is still drinking. I don't like that. Like, obviously, I don't know. When I say drink, I don't begrudge him the drink. I don't begrudge him that. But the return of press conference is still drunk. Ugh, jeez. Come on. No. He won't be on stream 24/7. He will leave it open. Oh, right. That makes more sense. I was wondering about that. I was like, Mark, you can't stay awake for 7 days. That makes more sense. That really does. That makes a lot more sense. He's from County Antrim. Oh, right. Yeah, I've been to Antrim a few times. I used to go out with a girl from there, actually, believe it or not. She's from Belfast. She didn't live there when I was seeing her. And she was from, like, proper, like, inner Belfast, like where the Troubles were. And oh my God, the strongest accent you'll ever hear. It was so hard to understand her sometimes. It was crazy. From County Antrim, where Liam Neeson's from, and your mam's from Donegal. She's from Donegal. Donegal. You're born in England. But don't worry, I root for the green and rugby. Big up to Donegal. You're from Donegal. And that's an accent that's hard to understand. Avanesian will be a great fight, but risky. Yeah, I think that Avanesian's pressure is really, really, really gonna, that would cause Conor Ben fits. And the problem with Conor Ben, I think that if he gets brought into a firefight, like a bit like when he fought Payne out, he just kind of lets it all go and gets reckless. Against someone like Avanesian, if you're reckless, he'll light you up. He really will. No, he absolutely will. Lads and lassies, I've gone over the hour and 40 mark. I actually only planned on doing this for about an hour because I wanted to get this in before anything else. If you could, on your way out, smash the like button. I'm going to call it quits here. Definitely, we do our normal Sunday stream. We're going to have much to talk about coming off the back of this fight tomorrow. So we'll definitely have a little chat on Sunday. For now, lads and lassies, big up to Nick. I want to big up Nuri if he's still here, or if I can still find his question or his comment, because he gave me a super chat for 79 pence, which I appreciate. And then he gave me a full one, and he gave me one for 10 quid, which I really appreciate. So big up to him. But that's for everyone else. Big up to Hassman as well. Big up to Ian. Big up to all you guys in the chat. For now, I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers, mate. Every time. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it every time, mate. But for now, I'm going to talk to you. Lads and lassies, enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the fights. Peace.